Ya está. No, apenas ahorita lo va a habilitar. Hello, good morning, good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to the first webinar of this series that we are launching today. And we are covering our recent publication, ICT as a strategic tool to leapfrog tax administration, which is a publication that CIAT conducted with the support of the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation. The webinar today covers one of the chapters of the book. It's about project management, change management, and another chapter that deals with human resources in terms of IT, both as users of IT and IT people in the tax administration. The webinar will be in English, which is kind of unusual for SIAT. Our target audience might not be today in our regular places in the Americas. We will have some of them here, but mainly we hope that some colleagues from Africa or Europe or Asia could join us today. The webinar is in English, and we have to let you know that none of the presenters today have English as their primary language, their native language. So please be patient with some eventual mistakes or pronunciation things. Our speakers will share the experience in the topic that we are covering today, and we will have some interactive polls that you can answer, and we hope to share those answers with you. We will have a pause of 10 minutes after 50 minutes in the webinar starts, and participants will be able to send questions. Those will be answered once the dictation is completed. There is a tool in the Zoom platform for Q&A. The microphone and cameras will not be open to the forum after we start, so we can save some bandwidth and you can focus on the presentations. My name is Raul Zambrano. I am Director of Technical Assistance at SIAT, and I will be moderating this panel. Joining us today are Mr. Alejandro Juarez. He is the Director for Training and Human Resources Development. Tissam Bari from the Moroccan Tax Administration. He is the head of the Human Resources Divisions. Morocco is one of the member countries of SIAT. David Borja, he is the project manager that this project we have with the Gates Foundation, and Baloo Blossom, who is an expert in terms of change management and project management. They will be the speakers today. So once we are starting, we will invite you to please answer, where are you? Just a couple of seconds more to collect your answers. Well, just to let you know, and with that, I will pass the floor to David Borja, who will start his presentation. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, Raul, for this short introduction. Please help me closing your presentation to share my screen. Okay. Okay, thank you. Thank you very much for everybody for being here. As Raul told you before, my name is David Borja, and I will be here sharing some ideas about project management. I want to congratulate all of you for separating time inside your agendas to continue improving your professional careers. It's a pleasure to stay this moment with you, and thank you again. To start this speech, I want to show you some statistics that I found in some researches from the Project Management Institute. As you can see in this slide, the organization wasted almost 20% of investment expenditure on projects And in the most recently study, 9.9% of every dollar is lost due to poor project management performance. Those data are disappointing, considering nobody likes to waste money. And as you know, it will have big consequences when working in the public sector. As is mentioned in the Pulse of the Profession, success in disruptive times, which is a common word we have right now, disruptive. The root causes associated with those monetary losses are, among others, the failure to bridge the gap between the strategy designed and its implementations, and the executives fail to recognize that strategies are implemented through project execution. The last statements are inviting for tax administration to strive to achieve the most efficient use of resources and ensure a set of skills that enable process transformations in the high dynamic environment ushered in by the digital era. Project management is a necessary discipline for adoption or improvement when it comes to successfully implementing disruptive technologies. In this slide, we can see innovative organizations where technology development is highly prioritized, creating or strengthening technical competencies in project management among its staff. It is a relevant effort, and we can see that innovators in several countries prioritize the development of project management technical skills and create different resources for their employees to increase their knowledge. So why is it important for the tax administration to learn about project management? And we can see that in one of the previous versions of ISORA, the International Survey on Revenue Administration, 78% of tax administration respondents stated that they either use or plan to use innovative technologies. So this is one of the reasons project management is called to take into action. Probably in this moment you can say, okay, I understand and we understand this is an essential field of study. But what is a project? This is an important question because we will be speaking about project management in this webinar. This image that I am showing you that I use in the professional training is an excellent way to explain and remember the dictionary definition. A project is a temporary endeavor to create a unique product, result, or service. Temporary means it has a beginning and an end, like a day, which is represented in the clock, and create something that is not available for our customers. It means it is different, as the umbrella colored in red. But there are two additional ideas I want to share with you. One is from the standard for portfolio management, which make us think of a project as a bridge between the strategy and operations. As you know, the strategic plan is something that is really good in a paper, but if we do not execute activities to fulfill what is defined, it just will be a book. Another idea that I want to show, which is mine, but it does not has a copyright, is that I see project as an adventure with risk and issues in the road, but with great recompenses. To this kind of endeavor, we transform the world. Another idea important to share is that project management becomes significant transformations in the humankind. like the Apple One, as you can see in this first image, known for being the computer with all the input devices that could be used at home. It becomes reality thanks to a project directed by Steve Jobs. But projects not only start because we have dreams, but it also starts because we have problems, like Homer Simpson in the nuclear plant. Although it could probably do not sound familiar for you, somebody can stay happy with the day-to-day activities, thinking everything is okay and nothing needs to change, like this image with Homer Simpson. But as the image shows, something is close to transforming a big problem. You can see there is fire in the window. So we need to do something, and it is important project management to solve problems that we have right now. For example, in our sphere, which is the tax administration, we have common problems like tax returns where we have some problems to collect the information, and it could become a great problem or a big problem without having some controls in the tax returns. And that's the reason we need to create a project to transform this system. Once you understand some examples of how the projects become, we need to understand that not all the proposals that we have could be executed at the same time because we have limited resources. That's the reason the organization have implemented portfolio management processes that help select and authorize the project the organization needs to do in a fixed period. The project portfolio initiation phase, the stage where the selection and prioritization criteria are established, is utmost importance with a view to the tax administration achievement or results in the implementation of their institutional strategy. This is mainly since in this phase, work is done on the objective criteria to select the highest value initiatives according to current capacities and environmental conditions. On the other hand, the main value of planning phase for the project portfolio, which is included in this slide, is that it defines a combination of the right programs and projects within the portfolio. For example, selection or prioritized initiatives that lead to fulfilling the organizational strategy while being technically feasible, posing an acceptable level of risk for implementation purposes, and whose cost is justified relative to the benefits they might deliver to the taxpayers and the government alike. In this image, you can understand how portfolio looks like. As you can see in this slide, it is a collection of projects and programs. And although it's not shown here, it is important to mention the portfolio does not have a time frame due to it exists the same time the organization does. It means if the organization closes, the portfolio ends. To reach the objectives of the portfolio that we can say are the same as the strategic plan of an organization, it is needed governance. For this reason, some organizations found it is useful to create a support process and business function commonly called the Project Management Office. But before explaining what I am referring to, we would like to make the following survey. Please, Raul, help me in launching the survey. Thank you. Once we finish answering those questions, we will show the answers, the results. It will be really important to understand the current situation you are living. We will have 20 seconds more before continue. Okay, that's okay. Raul, please help us sharing the results of the survey.
We are still getting some answers, so let's give them
Okay.
a couple of seconds.
Thank you very much. Okay, we see some interesting data. A lot of people understand the role of the project management office, which is great. And we see that most of the organization already deployed a project management office, is the majority. And we have different opinions about what we think about how deploying the project management office inside the tax administration. Thank you very much for everybody for answering this question. It's really interesting for me and for everybody. Okay, we will continue. Also, the project is a short, the data, excuse me, the data that we collected is a short data available. I can say that we all have this kind of problems. We have difficulties in defining how to implement the strategy. We have high definitions and high deviations in the scope, time, and cost. We have low customer satisfaction, a warning that we are not considering the taxpayer while developing our services, maybe. And we have difficulties in reaching maturity in the project management field. To bring a solution to the stated issues, 70 years ago, were created a first business unit dedicated to define the organization's project portfolio through prioritizing the projects, establishing some methodologies in order to create a toolkit for project managers and team members. They provide support and advice to the project manager in the different project states. This is made with services like coaching and mentoring. And another function was and continues the monitor of the implementation of the project to ensure resource allocation and take preventive of corrective actions. Not all project management office follow a standard operation model. According to Harold Kessner, a guru in this field, there are 3 types of PMO. The corporate project office, which offers services to the entire company, or in this case, the tax administration, and focuses on the strategy. The customer group office, where projects are grouped for better management relationships. This is more common in projectized organizations like consultancy firms. And the functional project office, which is used by one functional area or division inside the organization, mainly to solve their needs to deploy a single or a collection of projects. An example of this is the project coordination unit the Inter-American Development Bank requires organizations to implement before the first disbursement of their loans. It is important to mention in the next slide that I will speak regarding the corporate project office because I consider it is one of the best approaches to launch this business unit inside the tax administration. The project management office executes process as the same value chain of the tax administration. For this reason, this could be evaluated and continuously improved to reach different levels, as is shown in this image. Level 1 is when the organization starts recognizing the importance of project management. The staff has a vague knowledge or know what to do at all. The process is not documented and the best practices are used sporadically. In the level 2, the organization is concerned about improving its capabilities in this knowledge field. They develop a career path and start using some methodologies. Common processes and practices start to be developed and the benefits of professional project management starts to emerge. Senior executives starts to be supported. In level 3, the organization recognizes the synergy that creates the application of methodologies and frameworks. The project management processes are now integrated with another area like budgeting, acquisitions, human resources, strategic planning, among others. The senior executives are supportive and it is tangible. We can see what they are doing to support project management. In level 4, the organization starts to compare with the practices of leaders around the world. The information collected is evaluated to identify how to improve the processes. Project management is considered an essential for the survival of the organization. In level 5, the company reached excellence in project management and believe that improving it is a never-ending journey. Now we know the types of PMO and its maturity level. I want to show a summarized version of how implementing this unit in the tax administration, which is based in my personal experience. First, we need to gain support from the management, show facts, as I showed before, with data inside and outside the organization, and train executives about project management. Second, we need to define a mission and vision. As the tax administration define it, we need to do that in the PMO. In the third stage, we need to establish a roadmap to drive the PMO to its vision, splitting the activities in 1, 3, and 5 years. In other words, we need to manage its implementation as a project with a plan. Then we need to identify the services you will perform in level 1 of maturity, in case we are recently implementing the PMO. I suggest to starting small by providing training, adapting methodologies, and monitoring projects. We need to include the PMO in the organizational functions manual, and I think it is really useful to create and to identify the main competencies, which will be really a great tool for the auditing processes. As I stated before, one main function in maturity level 1 is to provide training. We need to design the programs adapted for stakeholders group, for example, executives, project managers, team members, and so on. It's really important to customize the training for the stakeholders, not deploying all their knowledge in the same way, because the people involved need different tools in different levels. A good way to show benefits is with results. And in my experience, a pilot is a good methodology. I think that we need to choose a short duration project with low risk to starting using the methodology. This will be useful because we will learn about the process and make adjustments quickly. Finally, as with the core processes in the tax administration, we need to evaluate the actual state and then updating the roadmap to execute a new version of the plan and continue increasing the level of maturity of the project management office. Finally, for this kind of implementation, I recommend to manage the stakeholders' expectation. As it happens in a project, it is important to align expectations with people who have power and interest. It is necessary to obtain its support and to ensure satisfaction with your work. We need, or maybe it is important to use a corporate data project offices approach to reach not only a segment of customers or project types. This will reduce time and standardize the methodologies. And begin with a short scope. Do not try to suddenly save the day and try to manage the project inside the PMO. In the tax administration, it's not a good idea to start managing the project because there is some problems with the main responsibilities defined in the organizational chart. So it is better to give assistance at the beginning. And I think it's better to first provide support and ensure organization has a common understanding. In the previous slide, I finalized with the explanation of the PMO. Now I want to introduce a project management approach that will be useful to face this threat that we have with COVID-19 disease. We will speak about Agile, which is a set of tools based in Lean that has been integrated to project management in the last 4 years. To start, I want to quote one idea of the book ICT as a strategic tool to lift the efficiency of tax administration, launched at the CIAT in March. This book, we can find that the planning, organization, management and control of the project should recognize the environment where they take place, intending to apply the acknowledged experience and most appropriate tools to ensure that goals are met. The first step is to understand the sector in where we are working for. The tax administration, as you know, belongs to the public sector and thus face public sector challenges. For example, the procurement of goods and services require the use of procedures that enable the fulfillment of the principles of transparency and competition, which implies that more time should be deployed to procurement activities. In addition, the staff should be familiar with the hierarchies among laws and international treaties, legal frameworks, or specific methodologies. Once we have a comprehension of the sector, we need to study society and culture. Projects interact within a group of persons with various beliefs, various values and languages and customs. This indicates that some tools may or not be used as a result of the reality where both the members of the team members and the beneficiaries operate. For example, in some regions or countries, results in orientation are of greater importance than human relationships, while in others aspects such as beliefs may prevail other results and therefore relationships are prioritized. Now we know the project has an environment. We need to understand projects do not follow the same life cycle. We have 4 types of life cycles as follows. The predictive of waterfall, where the requirements are defined before creating the deliverables. The delivery is a single end product at the end of the project timeline. Changes to the scope are restricted. Incremental or iterative, the requirements may be defined as intervals during the creation of deliverables. There may be partial deliveries. Change to the scope may be introduced at regular time. adaptive or agile. The requirements are often defined during the creation of deliverables. There are frequent deliverables, and changes are introduced in real time. It is really different to predictive because change is open even in the late stage of the project, which is really useful when we are creating software products, which is so common in the tax administration. And we have the hybrid life cycle, which is a combination between predictive and adaptive life cycles. In my experience, we don't have a pure agile project. We always have some combination of hybrid, of predictive life cycles, for example, managing the project, which is making some contracts and so on. Agile could be used in interactive, adaptive, and hybrid cycles. In tax administration, we can find this type of project with software development, which is commonly a huge group of projects, as I said before. Predictive life cycles are common in projects with low uncertainty, like, for example, open a new agency. Agile is not new. It started in 2001 with the Agile Manifesto as stated in this slide. We can use Agile for different projects, although it will be easier if we start to apply with software projects because its lexicon is adapted to those initiatives. Probably, if you read more information in the future about this topic, you will believe it is a set of tools. But unfortunately, it is not. It is a mindset where the organization starts to think in a different way and which transparency, involvement, and empowerment is practiced. My experience makes me believe it could be implemented inside the tax administration, but with some variations. For example, the contractual relationship between the tax administration or providers, an area I found more challenging to make it compatible with the management of software development. Finally, after many years, the world has begun using those project management approaches. We can say it is a basic competence right now for project managers and team members. To prove this statement, you can do a little research on LinkedIn and realize what I am referring to. With COVID-19, the world is changing and nothing will be the same in the future. The tax administration is facing a scenario where taxpayers demand new services or the currently available needs to be modified to have it online. In addition, our institutions have to solve issues quickly, like, for example, enable technology services for its staff to allow them to work at home with all the change in cybersecurity it involves. For sure, it will demand the deployment of new capabilities, and I believe it is a perfect scenario to start or to improve our knowledge and competences in Agile due to we will need projects to face the new normal. But what we need to do to use Agile? Probably some tax administration are unconsciously implementing some tools and response to the emergency we are living. However, it is in this slide I want to explain some ideas. Again, it is based on the principle of starting shortly and to increase the likelihood to succeed. First, we need to practice values. In Scrum, we have 5 values, but I want to introduce just 2 of them. One of them is the focus, as in the word says, we should work on a few things at the time. We only need to do what contributes to achieving the goals in the projects and inside our organizations. And the second value is openness. All the information on the project needs to be transparent and available for inspection and improvement. Project managers mainly need to stay in touch with the people and start avoiding the practice of keeping for themselves crucial information about the activities execution. We need to empower people. Management needs to change their mindset of being consulted for everything or for all single decision. As leaders in a project or a business unit, we need to believe in people's work and avoid excessive control. We need to design and deploy minimum viable products. Commonly in the tax administration, we want the perfection, and to complete a solution for a particular service, we need to start thinking it is better to deploy the services in phases than waiting to have all the requirements of a system defined. And we need to learn from the experience. One of the main benefits of the agile mindset is that we will have feedback in the execution of the project in common periods of times, called a time box of 3 or 4 weeks, which increase the opportunity for the team to make improvements and to avoid waiting to react when everything is lost. As you realize, Agile is not only a set of tools, it is a mindset and needs modifications or adaptations to the organizational culture to make it work. That's the reason it is not easy to master it. As you can see in the image, the project is influenced by many factors continually, and I want to work in a few of them that I consider crucial in this type of initiative. The executive directors, that they are commonly the sponsor in charge of assuring the provision of resources to execute the project. They have a crucial role to ensure success because their involvement correlates with the quality of big decisions, and with their influence, the people inside the tax administration will be supportive or maybe not to the project team. The experience says for me that it's important to have a good sponsor. For this reason, the work we have as project managers involve not only having a good relationship with them, but also teaching about the profession if they don't understand the role and the importance, and give them a curiosity about the importance of using specialized tools. The project definition is a successful factor. Sometimes is not used a lot of time to share the ideas before deploying a project. I believe that is important to allocate more time in the previous design phase of a project and propose them in short stage to reduce complexity. About the project plan, although it's not possible to anticipate all risks and issues we will face during the project executing some issues, I can say that planning is an essential activity. It's a process that happens in a weekly basis. What I learned is that project teams want to start executing without making any plan, which later becomes a change of the role of the project manager to a firefighter. Professionalization and capabilities, as I mentioned before, project management is essential knowledge in all industries, and is not an exception for tax administration. I believe it's always crucial to find improvements in the core processes, but we need to be capable to implementing it with the projects we create to do that. Training and experience in the field is probably a depth we have inside of organizations. And then organizational change management, although Baruch and Tissam will tell you more details about this matter, I want to share that it is an important tool to ensure the use of the information system we will deploy through project execution. Managing stakeholders and the natural resistance of people to change is an activity we need to perform since the beginning of the project, and not wait until the deployment of the services, when probably all the efforts we could do, it will be really unuseful. That's all for me. My final thoughts about project management is that it's a direct influence in the implementation of the strategy and channels huge amounts of money and effort. We need to ensure the organization success. So it is important to pay attention in this kind of process, not only in the project management process, but also in the portfolio management, which is, as I said before, it is important to select the main project that we will need to execute. And people is crucial. Projects is executed by people. We need to pay attention in their capabilities and knowledge in the area. Thank you very much.
Good morning, everyone. I hope everybody is good at their locations. My name is Baloo Blossom. So I will be speaking in this morning about change management. I hope Raul can give me the control so I can share my screen to start with the slides. In this morning,
we are supposed to have a short break right now to let people maybe check their phones or do whatever they need, and we will be back with you in 5 minutes maybe. We scheduled 10, but maybe we can do it shorter, and then I will pass it to you. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
In the meantime, I want you to invite you to download, if you have not done so yet, the book that we are offering for free. It's available at our website and several of the bookstores. This is a chapter that covers all these ingredients that the recipe that David was talking about. I think that project management will be very, very important when we move towards opening more taxpayer services and work from home for tax administration officials. We might have done it these days maybe in a not so planned approach. and project management will be crucial to do it fast and more particularly to do it right. And that will involve a lot of change, a change in culture, a change in processes, a change in procedures. And Baruch is going to talk a little bit about that change that need to be managed. So I will pass the floor to Baruch Lasso. Please, Baruch, take control of the presentation.
Thank you very much, Raul. Good morning to everyone. I'm going to share my screen now so we can start with this presentation. We will be trying to get some objectives in this little presentation. First of all, we are going to talk about the importance of organizational change management. We are going to see some basic concepts. Then we are going to make a link with the relationships between change management and project management. It is important to know how we have to work between these two kind of matters, how change management helps this project management good practices. And in the last part of this presentation, we are going to talk about tools and some good practices for change management in your organizations. Okay, we are going to start with this first concept. What is change management? I hope some of you has the knowledge of and the experience about working with the change management before. And the concept is that change management is the application of a structured process and a set of tools for leading the people side of change. This is very important to achieve that we are working with the people. So change management is about to letting people to adapt to change, because change is constantly. Change is the way we used to work in the modern organizations. So it is very, very important that we manage the people side of change. And this people side of change relates to three states that we have to manage in change. Is the current state that relates to how things are done today, how we are working today. Then we used to have a project, we have initiatives, we have plans, we need to improve our organizations, and we are going to evolve into a transition state. And this relates on how to move from current state to the future state. And the last stage of the change management is the future state. How things will be done tomorrow, how we vision our organization, how are we going to dream about our tax administrations to work in the future. Related to this topic, we have change management levels. We have the change management level for individuals, and this is how people experience change and what they need to change successfully. This is the people side of change, the most important part of the change management, because we have to remember, and I'm going to insist in this concept, we are working with people, we are not working with machines. We are working with people that have feelings, that have personal expectations. The change management on a project, we are trying to increase the outcomes and the return on investment, but driving adoption and usage of new technologies, innovation, new kind of processes. We are going to open a new kind of service. So we are going to use a project approach for change management. And already this is going to be very important to know that we can use also change management across an enterprise. So we can deliver some strategic initiatives to improve the agility and to make a continuous improvement in our daily work. So at any level, the main focus of change management will help our task force our employees, our people to embrace, to adopt, to manage the change in their day-to-day work. So why change management is important? This is a main question and also a main issue in the organizations today, because the future state of the organization is the consolidation and the sum of all individuals' change management involvement. So the whole organization is going to be successful if individual change are successful. So if we are going to operate new documented and processes management to new operation models, we are going to improve, especially in call centers, for example. We are going to do more services in the taxpayers services. We are going to need to use change management approach to be successful in the tax administrations. In the next slide, we are going to talk about the primary reasons for applying change management. And we can see that we have four main issues. We can solve more issues with change management, but we are going to focus in these four primary reasons for applying change management. First of all, the increase of the probability of project success. We are going to see some statistics in the next slide, that some studies of applying formal approaches of change management are going to make us to have more probability of project success in our organizations. In the second part, we are going to manage employee resistance to change, because as I told you before, we are working with people. We are working with beings that have feelings, that have a personal interest, and we are going to need to manage the resistance to change, because people stays in their comfort zone, and we need with projects to extend their comfort zone so they can increase and grow as persons, as professionals, and to diminish this resistance to change. In the third part, we are going to decrease cost of resistance to change, because when people start to resist to new ideas, to innovations, to new projects, we have a cost of reworks, or people is not, or about people is not working with their whole motivation. So we are going to use these techniques, these tools, these best practice to decrease this cost, that sometimes these costs are in the shadows, and we don't see, and we believe that everything is going okay, but is not going good, because we have this resistance. And in the last step, we are going to build change competency into the organization, because it's very important that our workforce have this knowledge, these achievements, and the abilities, the proper training to work with change in the daily work. We have here some statistics. We are using the ProSci Change Management Studies and McKinsey as source, and we can see that poor change management is not going to develop successful project. We only have 15% of successful rate in projects to commit to their objectives with poor change management. And if you see this statistic, you can see that with excellent change management, we are getting a 94% of successful projects. So it will be very important to use a change management approach, formal approach to get this rate increase. And McKinsey says that 9 of 10 executives said organizational agility was critical to business success. So the executives, the CEOs, are talking about that change management are giving results. In the second part of this presentation, we are talking about project and change management relations. And I'm using this graphic from PMI. PMI is a formal methodology and best practices consolidation for project management in world, that we have this integration between main processes and of project management and main processes of change management. As you can see in this slide, we have the initiation processes, we have the planning processes, we have the execution, monitoring, and controlling processes, and the closing process in project management. And if you can see in change management, we have a cycle that is very sustainable and is very similar to the project management cycle. So in change management, we already use initiation, we already use the planning, and in the execution and monitoring phase, we use the managed change, that transition stage we talked before in the change management importance to, to organizations. And in the last part, we have the reinforce and the sustain. In the next slide, we are going to compare more deeply about change management processes and project management. As you can see, project management and change management goes in the same direction. We have a current state where we have some problems, some issues. We need to innovate our organization, our tax administration, and we have some initiatives that will become to projects, to plans, to programs. These plans, these projects, these programs will have an objective, and is to transform and to help to improve the performance of the organizations. So we are going from a current state into a transition state, and then into a future state for our organization. Change management focus on the people side of this transition. Project management focus on the technical side, but change management helps the project management to focus in the people side, so we can have these projects to be successful. These are the PMI standards that some of you will know already, and we have 5 areas of processes that are initiation, planning, design, implementation, and closure. And we have some tools like the statement of work, the project charter, the business case, and other tools that we use in project management. In change management, we have some tools also, like individual change management, assessment for know how the organization is ready or is prepared to confront change management. We have the communications plans, the sponsors roadmap, the coaching plan, and we are going to make a strong link between project management and change management, because change management is an important part of project management. As David told in his presentation, change management is very important to perform project management, because we need to complement the technical side of moving from the current state to the future state of an organization with the people side of this transition. So it's very important to perform change management and to integrate change management with the project management work and methodologies in our organizations. Okay, in this last part of this presentation, we're going to talk about the tools and the best practices in organizational change management. As you can see, uh, there is the same model of maturity that David presents us in his talk about project management. In change management, we also use a change management maturity model. And this change management maturity model is more focused into an across enterprise change approach. So if we want to start some organizational changes in the vision, in the strategic planning, in the way of working, it will be an exceptional tool to measure what is the level of maturity of change management in our organization. And we have 5 levels of change management maturity. They are very similar to the Kessner model that David present in project management presentation. Uh, the first level in change management is ad hoc or absent, and it represents that the efforts and the methods that we are using to manage change are not applied. Maybe there is no formal approach. Maybe there is no team prepared for manage the change, and, and we are in the initial level of change management. In the second level, we can see that we have isolated or few project capabilities. Maybe we are starting to use some methods of change management of people side of change, but they are not formal. They are still also dispersed. Maybe we are using the change management only on some very important project, or maybe in some kind of project, but we cannot talk about an integral approach. The level 3, we are going to say that is a level where multiple projects have capabilities. We are starting to use a formal approach. We are starting to make good practice. We are going to start founding the basis of change management in our organization. At level 4, we have a standard. We have a formal method of change management, and we are starting to use commonly to manage the change. So we can say that change management is already a process and a standardized process into our organization. And the last level is we have competencies in change management achieved. So change management is part of the organization, is part of the culture, is evident in all levels of the organization, and is part of the intellectual assets of the tax administration. Another tool that is important to know that we can use in change management is the PCT assessment. And this is more used on a project approach. The PCT assessment relates to 3 great areas: project management, leadership and sponsorship, and change management. So the objective with this tool is to assess each project in our organization and to know if the project has the best practices in project management, if the project has a good leadership, a good sponsorship, if this sponsor has the knowledge, the enough achievements of knowledge and training to lead the project, and also about the change management, how we are going to manage the change in this project. The third tool in change management is the risk matrix assessment. And we have two great dimensions to, to acknowledge how are we treating in the risk in our project. The first one is the change characteristics of the project. And we are going to assess in this dimension how deep is the change, how disruptive is the change, is long enough to approach the whole organization. If this change is small, is incremental, if this change relates to all the people in the organization, it will going to have impact in processes, in technology, in the ways of work of the people in our organization. And the other dimension are the organizational attributes of the tax administration. For example, if we have enough funding to support the change, if we have the knowledge, if we have the techniques, if we can use formal approaches to change management for help the people for not to be resistant or for to be ready for the change. This matrix will help us to assess the project to be in one of these quadrants that we can see that are classified in high risk when we are facing an incremental, a very long change, and change maybe are very frequently in our organizations, and we have a lot of resistance. And we have another quadrant like medium risks that are related to organizations that are resistant to change because of their organizational attributes. And we have the other quadrant that maybe the organization is ready for change management, but the change is very large, is very disruptive, and we are going to have to be careful with the change. And the last quadrant, that is low risk changes, maybe when we are facing a tax administration that is ready for change, that has very good organizational attributes to change, and the change we are facing is not too large, is small, or maybe it's incremental, and changes are not too frequently inside our organizations. This is the best tool in my experience to use for change management, and it's the ADKAR model. The ADKAR model relates to 5 stages, 5 phases, 5 characteristics of the people when we are facing the change. Awareness related of how we are prepared about knowing the changes. Do we have the conscience to know why are we changing? Do we have enough information to know why are we going to a future state? This is very important because in some organizations, our leaders are trying to have a vision, but the people does not know the vision, does not have information about how are we going to change, why are we going to change. So we don't have this conscience in our people to support the awareness for change management. The second stage is desire. People, when have the conscience about why are we changing, start to question themselves to know what this change is representing to them. What are the benefits? What are the disadvantages of the change for them? Are they going to have issues in the future with the comfort zone? So desire is very important to show them the benefits of changing and the risk factors of why are we changing and what will we happen if we do not change. For example, in this pandemic, we have enough information about what is happening in the world, but do we have the real desire to change in the future? Do we know the benefits? Do we really know what is going to happen if we are not changing? That is very important in people's side of the change to improve, to help to people to know. After you have the awareness and you have the desire to change, you will be need to be prepared to change, because sometimes we don't have the training to change. Then we enter into a stage and a phase of knowledge. We need to train our people to know how to change, to give them the skills to change. After that, we will need to set the abilities, and we will have to set the gaps between the knowledge and the ability. We will have to set and to train into abilities to change. And in the last step, after we complete this cycle, we need to do reinforcement. We always have to reinforce the change and tell them the stories of successful change, about histories of why we are making formal approaches of change management to help the projects to improve, to be successful, and to help our people to have this transition state between the current state and the future state. Change management is like a train that is going through this current station to a future station where the organization is going to be different, is going to be another kind of organization. So people must embrace the change and know how is the current state with awareness and desire, and how to make that transition into the future state, preparing them with knowledge and abilities for them, and in the future state reminds them with this reinforcement why this change has been a benefit, why it has been to be done, this change with this project management. We have also 7 change management best practice I want to share. I'm going to do this part very quickly, so we can advance into the whole presentation in the next part with Tissam, that she's going to tell you about the Moroccan tax administration case, where we made project and change management formal approaches. She's going to give you some information about the implementation of change management practice. As you can see, we have seven best practices in change organizational management. I'm going to talk of each one in the next slides. For example, mobilize an active and visible executive sponsor is very important. We can see in this graphic that an extremely effective sponsor gives us the chance to meet our objectives in project, in plans, in work daily basis, in 72% rate increase. Dedicate change management resources, for example, to have a team that is dedicated for the task of change management and the work related to change, sets that the percentage of respondents with excellent change management and with dedicated resources is a 91% For example, this statistic is very, very important and tangible. How the overall change management effectiveness is improved with a change management team that is dedicated to the task. Also, we are going to see that applying a structured change management approach is important, because to have a methodology, a formal methodology, it helps to make walkthroughs between the current state and the future state of the organizations, and we can see the impact of using a methodology on overall change management effectiveness. We can see that between good and excellent results in change management, it has the sum of more than 60%. So it will be good to try change management for increase this rate of success. How about engage with employees and encourage their participation? Well, it is important to see that impact of allocating resources to reinforcement on project success will give us a 67% of respondents who meet or exceed objectives. What it means is that allocated resources, a change management team that start to reinforce and sustains activity of change, give us a 67% of increased rate of project success. We talked about this before, the integration and the engagement with project management. And this graphic is very tangible, is very visual about how it's working and integrated change management and project management in the effectiveness of plans of innovation or project. A 50% is a good rate of success, is a very nice increase in our successfulness of projects. Middle and operational managers is very important to perform, and also the Moroccan tax administration. This one strategy was one of the best, to try to involve mid managers, diminish the resistance, because mid-level managers are most of the resistance groups. So a good strategy is to try to meet them and to involve them and to make them to participate in the change, so they can set their mind that the project is not only an initiative of the higher administration, it's an initiative for the whole tax administration. Oh, thank you very much for letting me talking about this change management. So I hope you enjoy the rest of the presentations.
Thank you. We will not have a second break, so I will pass the floor to Sam. Please, if you could take control of the presentation.
Thank you, Raúl. Thank you very much, Baruch, for your presentation, and David. So good morning to my partners and my friends from SIAT, and good morning, afternoon, and maybe evening for some of you, to all the participants. And I really hope wherever you are that you are doing well in these particular times. So first of all, I wanted to thank David having invited me to this event that I frankly accepted without hesitation, because we really appreciated the cooperation with SIAT in Morocco, and I'm really glad today to share a little bit of it with you, and I hope that it will be of benefit. So I will share with you some lessons learned from the cooperation with SIAT, as I said, and it was a technical assistance of two components. So the first component was on change management, and the second one was concerning a training program. So I will give you some elements on both of them. But before starting, I wanted to describe the context that led up the Moroccan tax administration to engage cooperation with SIAT in these specific fields. So what we have to have in mind, two key events. So the first key event is that we were experiencing at the Moroccan tax administration since the last few years, specifically starting from 2015, a continuous and rapid and big change. This change, we had to engage in it, of course, to accompany the socio-economic environment of our country. And this change was in all the fields, from the core functions to the support functions. It was very wide, and it really impacted our ways of working, our processes, our relation with the taxpayers. The second key event is the development of new technologies. And this is not only for Morocco, this is in the whole world. So, and we were aware that it was an opportunity for us because this technological leap will help us achieve new goals. And, but also it was a real challenge for the staff, because not everyone will be able to follow this and to follow these changes and to use these new technologies. So we were experiencing, as I said, big changes, and we needed to be assisted to deal with it by opening our administration to the best practices in the world. And here comes SIAT. And I can say that we had very successful missions, specifically in the field of the change management. So when Baruch came to Morocco, because Mr. Lasso, Baruch, was our expert in change management. So the first thing is that he made the first observations that he made were the following: that the IT capabilities, our IT capabilities needed to increase soon. He also observes that many projects were running at the same time, that everything was top priority, that lots of changes were happening in a short term, and that the people start feeling frustrated about all these changes and didn't know how to deal with it. So the reality is that we didn't really accompany our staff in all these changes. So after this first as evaluation, Baruch did an initial evaluation, and the objective is to quantify these aspects and to know exactly what are we talking about. So the numbers were for the maturity level 2.1, and we got a high risk of 38.41. Important thing is that we didn't have an approach for change management, and we didn't have a fully deployed PMO also. And last but not least, we didn't have a change management team dedicated to change management, neither a project management team well trained for it. So after this initial evaluation, Baruch suggested many solutions. most of them were assessing the change management capacities issues. Also, that we needed to evaluate change management maturity problems, that we needed to verify the change organizational attributes and characteristics, that we had to adopt a formal change management approach that will lead us to create plans, communication ones, training ones, eventually plans for resistance, and to establish the sponsorship map, as Baruch exposed before. And last but not least, we had to acquire these tools and get SIA to transfer that knowledge to us. So after the missions, we learned a lot. And in fact, there were 3 missions that Mr. Baruch did in Morocco. So he came 3 times in Morocco, but we worked a lot remotely. And the mission started on effectively on October and ended on February. So that was a short period to accomplish a lot. But we really learned a lot. The first thing is that we created a dedicated team to change management. And that was very, very important. It's a team of about 10 persons. They are multidisciplinary person from the HR department, from the procedure department, and the communication department. And these people have also specific personal skills. They are open-minded, and they are aware of the change, and they have the desire and the will to change. So these skills, and mostly they have the capacity to do it. So that makes it easy for them to acquire the competencies. Baruch helped us to set the basis. Another important thing, we had a more involvement from the sponsors and the middle managers. We adopt a formal approach and training, and we create a pilot project. And I'm going to talk about the pilot projects in a few minutes. Finally, at the end of the missions, Baruch did a final evaluation. So he calculated again the indicators that he calculated at the beginning. And we observed a noticeable improvements, because we, from the maturity level increase from 2.1 to almost 3. We went from a high risk to a medium one, from 38 to 22. And we adopted a formal change management methodology. We also integrated, we had an initial integration of the PMO with the change management, a more active sponsor that was really interesting because it was supporting the efforts. And most of all, I think it was the creation of the team, as I said earlier, because the team got a very good training. It was a 3-level training from basis to reinforcement. And that makes the team acquire, that make them acquire the competencies and made them able to engage change management approach on themselves. And in fact, after that, the team was autonomous, and the team was able to conduct on his own a change management approach. And here is the transition to the project's pilot, because they did it mostly on their own. So introducing the project's pilot, that's, as I said, a proof of the successfulness of the training for the team. and of the mission in its whole. So for the choice of the project's pilot, we chosen a project of priority for the Moroccan tax administration. This project is about performance and contractualization. And why is it in the top priority of our portfolio? Because of the context. We are now aware, or I mean, we had to engage in the new public management approaches, which are using the techniques of the private sector to the public sectors, and that was also in our constitution and in our law. So we had to do it. We had to embrace this this culture of measuring the performance through the objectives, to be more efficient. And about this project, like more insights, just to explain to you a little bit what is it exactly. So it's about contracts. So what we had is that the general director sign contracts with the regional directors. These contracts are about, they have many key performance indicators, and it's about objectives to accomplish at the end of the year. So there are yearly contracts between the general director and the regional ones. And the pilot project was about declining these contracts to the regional directors and their middle managers. So the objectives are gaining more commitment at the middle management level and the team level, and gaining transparency in the performance evaluation processes. So the scope of the change was formalizing the contracts, because they were doing it, but not in a formal way. So the scope was really having contracts formalized with the key indicators and signed by the regional directors and the middle managers. The total collaborators impacted are 120 collaborators. Continuing on the pilot project, so we decided to do it in 2 phases, to implement it in 2 phases. So a first phase concentrated on the regional direction of Rabat, because we have 9 regional directions in Morocco, and Rabat is one of them. Why did we choose Rabat? Just simply because the team, the change management team that were trained was located in the central administration, which is also in Rabat. And the idea is to start with Rabat and then implement in a second phase to the 8 other regional directions. So the team conducted the whole process on itself, starting from the initial assessments with all the tools that Baruch was talking about a few minutes earlier, the maturity level, the 4 Ps exercises, everything. They conducted the interviews themselves, they did the surveys, and we had the kickoff meeting of the project. We also did the assessments after the kickoff, and we created the plans of the communication, training, and resistance. And I was, frankly, I was really proud of the team, because they managed to do it on themselves. And Baruch was congratulating them also, because he noticed their evolution starting from October to February. He really noticed the evolution of the team. And after that, I was really confident that we were going to be able in the future to conduct on our own our change management approaches for our future projects. So this leads me to talk about projects at the Moroccan Moroccan tax administration. And the project here, it's part of the second component of the technical assistance, which was the training one. So in this component, we had many subjects of training. One of them was about project management, but more precisely, portfolio, program, and project management. So the mission really opened our eyes about the necessity of change management to succeed in conducting a project. And I mean, we understand that we needed to master the life cycle of a project and the life cycle of the change management. So the current state at the Moroccan tax administration, as I said at the beginning, was that we had too many projects running at the same time, and that all with high priority. And apart from IT managers, few managers and middle managers in the Moroccan tax administration have followed formal training in portfolio, program, or project management in accordance with the best standards. So each manager in the Moroccan tax administration manages his program or project in a more or less different way, according to his nature, the context of the moment, and the presence or not of a sponsor. So SIAT really helps us building capacity in this field, and they suggested to do it in 3 groups. The first one was the group of the top management, and the objective was to raise their awareness on the subject. That was a really important initiative. And the other groups were for the middle management, and it was training on the techniques, portfolio, program, and projects. So the objective was to establish and strengthen the culture of work in project mode within the Moroccan tax administration, build a framework containing project, program, and portfolio management methodologies, and legitimize the formalization of this working method by setting up a PMO as soon as possible. That was a really important thing. So for this program of the training on project management, 87 managers were trained. We managed to set up an equipped PMO and to reorganize our projects into portfolios and programs. Finally, I wanted to share with you the experience that we are living now. I mean, and it's also a proof that we managed to apply the tools that we acquired from SIAT. It's the experience of the quarantine. So since March 2020, most of the employees of the Moroccan tax administration had to work from home. And we started this experience in the Human Resources division since the staff in the division has been relieved of an important part of their regular daily tasks. So we seized the opportunity to apply the techniques of portfolio and project management. So we went through the methodology that we learned, which was about identification, evaluation, prioritizing this project, and we ended to a balanced portfolio that we had to implement during this period. So actually, the division is there are 4 units in the division, and all the units have projects that were high value projects and also quick wins. The time completion of the projects is relatively short, is 2 to 3 months maximum. And actually 36 team members are now working on 21 projects and initiatives, and they are generating 64 deliverables that will be implemented after the confinement. So through this experience, I was really glad to observe that the engagement and the motivation and the adherence of the staff was complete. So even if it was new to us, so even if we had to change our way of working, and that we had to do it very quickly and adapt quickly. And I really can say that the technical assistance of SIAT, either its change management component or the training component with trainings on project management, I really can say that it contributes to facilitate the realizations of this action that we are currently living. So thank you again to SIAT, and I hope that the lessons learned will be of benefit to the participants, and we really hope in Morocco to continue the partnership with SIAT, hoping to learn more things and hoping to share also our experience with other countries. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. And on behalf of SIAT, I would like to thank also for the kind words towards our organization. I will pass the floor to Alejandro Juarez. So please, Alejandro, could you take control of the presentation?
Can you hear me? Okay, can you hear me? Okay, okay.
Yes.
Yes. Greetings for the people who is watching this webinar. I have identified some countries: Kenya, Gambia, Argentina, Bolivia, Canada, Chile, Colombia, Curacao, El Salvador, Ecuador, Spain, United States, Honduras, Morocco, Peru, Mexico, Pays-Bas, Panama, República Dominicana, Uruguay, and San Martin. If I missed something, my apologies. So let's see. I organized my intervention in 4 topics. The first one is the project management, because I believe that understanding the project to align the talent is a key topic. Then I will be speaking a little bit about the talent development from the HR perspective. And the third topic, I would like to share something about competencies, because the competencies means right people doing the right job. And finally, I would like to speak about technology. My colleagues has speak a lot about it, but I have additional ideas, because the technology is a powerful enabler to develop the projects. To align our talent project, we need to communicate its scope correctly and clearly. Our fifth effort should be aim and guarantee a correct understanding of the project. That is why we need to explain its structure, strategy, solution, and what we consider the sources of the project. When I speak about the structure, I mean the general objective, the particular objective, the individual goals, the collective goals, the process as well. What kind of process we will be developing during the project, and of course, the management instruments. About the strategy, I'm thinking about the decision that guide the project, the adjustment to the roadmap, and the project leadership. Baruch and David talk about it. What kind of leaders do we have? We have only one leader, several leaders in different stages of the project, doing what? Leadership, who people? And of course, the solutions. For me, the solution, it means the project governance model. What is the model to guide the project during all the time? operation and finance. You know, the budgeting is key in any kind of project, and troubleshooting and conflicts is really important, understanding the troubles and dealing with that. And finally, how can we understand the sources, the interaction, the products, the outcomes, the requirement and specification, and of course the deadlines? Is really understanding. Each person needs to know on detail the project framework to identify their personal contribution to the project. To start the alignment of the talent, let's see some simple tips. At the beginning, as a general practice, we need to do the planning. Plan the alignment of people to the project. Use your skill as a project manager to plan goals and develop a schedule with steps, a specific step to get you there. Because then you need to construct the networking, involve the people with other people into the team, involve the people with the project team, the same person who is sharing the same component projects or the same interest into the project. Because we need that you becomes in a thought leader, use your skills and experience to help others and develop them. It means encourage them, inspire them to get the results. At some points, you need to wear many hats. You will be the good guy or the bad guy. You need to read properly the environment, move really softly, quickly, to move faster as possible, and reorient the people, reorient the talent to get the results that the project is pursuing. Finally, be a great communicator. The communication is key to everything. It's really important to be a great communicator, but it is really important listen as well to get the final results into the project. This slide is really a briefly overview to share my point of view about the deadlines. For me, as a member in a project, I should understand my task, and I should understand the activities and duties from the other people into the project. Each goal put in the time. I need to understand the relationship between the internal and external clients, the project's interfaces, and of course, the capital moments to get the products and outcomes at the ending of the project or in the partial moment of the projects. I think David and Baruch has talked about it. Just a project have their framework. The talent management has a general practice, also its own frame of reference, because we need to develop a talent infrastructure. How can we go from the talent acquisition into the total rewards? We need to develop a lot of things. I speak a few moments ago about the model of governance into the project. We need to know about the project metrics and the scorecard, because we need to develop the talent strategy, the workforce plannings, and another process, the capability and competency management, the leadership, the performance management. We need to develop the learning and capability development. It's not necessary to share this framework about the talent management, but we need to have one. Definitely, we need to have one to manage the people team. It's really, really important to have one, because the project manager and the HR unit have and share some responsibilities. The project manager need people to get ready to start the project or to develop the different commitment into the projects, and the HR responsibility have the core responsibilities. You know, from the planning, the staffing needs, the recruitment and selection, the training, the performance assessment, the compensation and benefits to the people, and of course the daily operation and service to the employees, because the people always is needing something. It's really important to us from the perspective of the HR unit to share this information and process with the PMO or the project managers as general practice. To enable the talent, we need to develop process from the approach, the HR approach. Process designed and operated to get right people or closing gaps. What kind of gaps? Especially training gaps, to ensure the people competent and empower people. It's really, really important. So the team building is a key matter. because the people must learn to work together. It's not a personal option, it's not a personal opinion, it's not a free will, it's something mandatory, it's a rule business into the projects. The people must and should learn to work together. And of course, as I mentioned, the benefits, which includes the salary, health services, insurance, uniform, other kind of benefits to the people into and during the project. It's really important understanding the processes to enable the talent to get ready and collaborate and added value to the project. The people should have two necessary competencies: the knowledge, the skills, and attitudes to reach the project objectives. And we need to develop a very great sense of belonging to the working group, which means training and motivated people. And we need to give permanent support, because the PM and the HR have to keep close to the people and give feedback and recognition of the time about the result, about the progress, even about the dependencies and gaps. Because another challenge is to give them a challenge. It means to incentive the creativity, the commitment, and the proud and intellectual challenge to grow personally and professionally during the project, and give them the resources. We need to provide the resources to the people. High performance is not just a competencies matter. It's equipment, inputs, and certainty. In consequence, we need an outstanding direction to leadership, to get the leadership right during the project. It's really, really important. And then, as Baruch, Tisan, and David mentioned, we need to think about the training. The training is a key process to enable the people during the projects, because we have different contents, technical training, interpersonal training, networking, tax administration matters training, finance, stats, revenue, a lot of things that you know better than me. It's really important to thinking about the training, and we need to develop a minimal strategy to deploy the strategy to do the training. I share with you 5 key moments to develop the training strategy. First of all, identify the content requirements. It's really important, identify the content requirements. Then we need to determine the people to do the training. Who people will be doing the training? Who people is, it will be learning something new to develop new skills, new capabilities, new competencies to develop their own responsibilities during the project. We need choose learning strategies as well, which is the answer several questions. We will be doing the training face-to-face, e-learning strategies, a mix of both. What kind of strategies do we need, and what kind of strategies we are on condition to execute? The fourth moment is programming and execute the activity training. Execution, implementation. And finally, assess the result. Assess the learning, assess the cost benefit, assess all this kind of the indicators related with the training. It's really important for us maintain this focus about the importance to enable the talent, give them the necessary training. As an additional reflection, we may think on basic assumptions. Due to the project, probably you will face unexpected demands. Please be attentive, be sensitive, be in touch with the people, and get ready. Get ready to do a quick adjustment, because it's related with the project issues. Thinking about the learning, if your HR processes was good, your training requirement would be minimum. But by the other hand, if we have several gaps, the demand of training will be increasing. And we need to develop a new global approach. Due to the health crisis, in this moment, we need to put the work where the people is, instead of to send the people where the jobs are. It's really, really important change our approach, because a lot of people in this moment is in home, and the people is still working. We have practices like the homework or the telework. To be honest, I understand those practices like different things. The home office is just to take the work to the home, but the telework is a practice completely different, because we need to think in other kind of requirements about the use of the networking, about the use of the personal computer, access to the internet, the institutional internet, and another kind of resources. And finally, in this topic, we must think about the knowledge management, which means how can we produce, preserving, transmitting, and transforming the knowledge? And how can we share this new knowledge to the team project, to the people, and other stakeholders that could be or would be users about this new knowledge? It's really important, these basic assumptions, to keep in mind, focus about the importance to enable the talent, focus on the project. Our next topic is think about the competencies. For me, it's really important to think about competencies. Why? As almost everything, the competencies has pros and cons. Competencies could help us to create a standard convention about people characteristic, a minimum quality level for the team. Competencies may improve the HR processes. Although we may have different perspectives about competencies, but the competencies is not opinion matter. The competencies are based on performance, specifically on the high performance of the talent people into the organization during different projects. We need to identify the best performance to describe the technical competencies or another kind of competencies. And we can deal hard and soft competencies during a project. By the other hand, in the cons, we have, yes, we have some cons. For example, we need time to develop a known model. It's really important that we should be clear that we need time to develop an own model. In some condition, the competences is not the best way, it's not easy to implement a model of competence in an organization during a project or previously to execute a project. That's why it's necessary a high sponsorship. We need a high sponsorship to incentive developing the internal model of competencies. It's really, really important to understanding this, because without this right sponsorship, probably we fail to develop an internal model. And about the hard competencies, you know, the hard competencies are those related with core business content, specifically the tax administration content, issues about taxation, revenue tax, VAT, corporate tax, electronic invoice, function handbook, taxpayer services, custom services, international taxation, international cooperation, BEX project, tax and crime, a lot of things. You know, the core business in our case is the tax administration processes, technology system, procedures, legal framework, institutional ruling, function. It's really important understanding the hard competencies. The hard competence is the tax business the core business in a tax administration. Because in the other hand, we have the soft competencies that are really different, but other reasons. The soft competencies, I'm pretty sure that most of you have heard about them. Soft competencies are those that we show through our behavior, attitudes, and skills. Summarizing, the competencies are knowing what to do and knowing how to be. We can find something like communication, the leadership, focus on result, strategical thinking, responsibility, ethical behavior. So actually in the tax administration, several tax administrations has in this currently their own competencies model. And if we review these models, we will find important and made difference between the models, because in some cases, the skills, the attitudes are identified as a technical competences in some tax administration. In other, it's just the soft competencies, or we call institutional competencies. It's really, really important understanding, independent what kind of model will develop. My suggestion is work based on competencies. Because as Baruch mentioned in some point in its presentation, we need to think about the risk. And you know, the human risk perspective has also a component of risk. And we need, and guess what? Exactly, we need to establish the context of the risk, identify the potential and real risk, analyze them, stratify the main importance for the risk, evaluate the risk, and then we can treat the risk, monitor it, and review the risk. For example, the ethical behavior could be an interesting risk into the tax administration, and it could be part of the model of the risk assessment in an institution. But you know, fortunately, we have models and methods to face on this kind of condition or problems. For example, the Toxman model. The Toxman model to development speech about 4 stages: forming, storming, norming, and performing. And it's an interesting model because it's based on the leader. The real challenge to leader, the real goals to the leader is to make them to them self-reliant and then just move on. Let them free, because at the beginning, in the first stage, in the forming, the thing is depending of the leader. And the second stage, the leader becomes in a mediator and focus of the team members. In the third stage, the norming, the leader becomes in a facilitator, because the people start to be independent, flexibility, and a quick communication to get the results. And finally, the stage of performing. The leader delegates and oversees. You know, we can do the supervising, and we don't need to be present and time or physical presence to do the supervising. It's really important understanding this. Okay, due to time, I will be skipping some slides because I think you can read them on detail later about the Toxman model, but it's just an explanation, additional details about these 4 stages. But I will to and stop in this Ulrich propose. What do we do to reach the employee connection into the organization? According to Ulrich, if the competences is ability to do the work, if the commitment is willingness to do the work, and the connection is finding meaning in doing the work, just we need to do the multiply the competence with the commitment, with the connection to reach productivity in the team project. I agree with this perspective, because if we can develop the high sense of belonging, the high competence and a high performance, and a very good in understanding of the project, I think we reach the connection necessary. So competence, commitment, and connection to get the productivity. As David mentioned, we have also the capability maturity model, but in this case, we are talking about different things. We are speaking about the practices, because we have the same 5 levels: initial, repeatable, defined, management, and optimizing. We have different components in this case, in the people case. At the beginning, we manage practice. Then we tailor the practice. We measure and align in the practice. And finally, we are we are continuously improving the practices, because we are thinking about the people. In the top of this model, in the bottom of this model, we have the people management. When we improve, we change to the next step, competence management. And then again, we change to the team management. And finally, we are doing the capability management. It's really interesting thinking on this perspective. We have also another models. For example, the HR competences model. The HR competences model is thinking about several different perspectives and process. The communication, relationship management, ethical practice, HR expertise, the business role, the critical evaluation, diversity and inclusion, leadership and navigation, internal consultation, a lot of things. This is another perspective to understand it, that the HR approach has different concerns and different methods to face on and resolve the different problems during a project. Now, to final my intervention, I would like to take a couple minutes to speak about technology, because I think the technology allows accuracy and speed, because giving us access anywhere, collaboration between the people and the process, the technology is really useful to do the data analysis and the right interpretation of the information, and flexibility to operate our project. I think it's really important, because the technology is something like enhance the global perspective about the project management, the project managers, the HR units to develop the different strategies and procedures during a project. This slide is really simple because I think that the technology help us to starting the project, reaching a fast flow of operations, putting the teams in a position to do their jobs because they empower the teams, improve the communication between the people and the process, given the security to access and use the different applications to develop the project, and saving resources, all kind of resources, money, time, staff, facilities. You know, the technology is really powerful to execute the project and to enable the people to add value to the project with their own, from their own capabilities and competencies to get the results and collaborate with other members of the team, using the internal and external relationship from internet or intranet, and giving them permanent support, using the technological resources to do preventive and corrective services for all the members of the team. I think this is a very good synthesis of that idea that I tried to share about the technology and the human team during the project. To conclude my intervention, I have 3 conclusions. I think it's really relevant because not attending the talent in a project, putting its success at risk. Second one, the talent is in the people. The people are the ones that achieve the results. Please, the people are the ones that achieve the results, not the process itself, not the technology, not the technology itself. It's the people. The talent is in the people. We develop the talent in the people, and the people will give us the results, the final results. They achieve the results. And it's a little bit romantic, but I surely believe on that. Developing people in a project is to start others' new projects, because if in a project we are developing the human resources, probably or very sure we will be collaborating with these people in other new initiative of projects. So thank you very much for the chance to share my thoughts with all of you. And I think this is the perfect moment to go back with Raul. Raul, please.
Thank you, Alejandro. It is time to go to some questions. But first of all, let me ask my colleagues to turn on the video so we can have this presentation a little more lively with those of you that are still online. And also, we will have a short review or survey on the quality and the usefulness of this webinar. So please stay tuned and give some time to answer the question. So the first question is to David. In your opinion, the best approach for your tax administration is to have one and only one PMO, or would it be better to have a couple of specialized PMOs, one for IT projects, or one for infrastructure, one for regulations, and so on? So please, David, go ahead.
Thank you, Raul, and thank you, everybody, for staying with us until this moment. I cannot share my video. Could you please give me a hand with that, Raul?
Yes.
Me too, Raul, please.
All of us, please.
You can start answering while I'll try to understand how this works.
No problem. Thank you, Raul. I think it is an interesting question. I believe it is better to have a centralized project management office allocated as part of the strategic and operational planning of the tax administration when we are starting with the level 1 of the maturity level that I showed before, excuse me. Once we reach the maturity 3, this office could be an independent unit with the coordination and working together with the planning functions I think it is better to have this kind of project management office related with planning and process management. I believe it is not a good idea to have a project management office in the IT department, because it's just a little bit of the group of projects that we have inside the organization. We have another type of things like that. And why I think it is because it will reduce the effort of starting developing tools in an isolated way. Additionally, we will have a centralized place for information on all projects and a single responsible for the processes. I am sure this will avoid confusion in the information regarding the project or portfolio status, because the main director of the tax administration do not have to ask for information to more than one business unit. And finally, it will be easier to identify ahead in charge of the continual improvement of the organization. It is important to make project management an increasing process and increase its maturity.
Thank you. If you remember, we had a question before, and based on this, I will want you to review that answer. No, sorry, the final one. So please see if this answer from David changed your view on the point. So any comments, David? You have to unmute.
Sorry, I see that after this short explanation, somebody changed their mind. For me, it's important to have a project management as centralized to reduce the waste of time. Thank you, everybody, for answering that question.
So, Baruch, is it possible that the organization at the future state could fall back to the current state while having the same people within the organization?
Thank you very much, Raul, and thank you very much for the question. Very interesting one. Yes, it is possible, because if we don't do the reinforcement stage of change management, we can fall back to the initial state of change. So in my experience, this issue could be solved if we can produce a very solid awareness into the people. And this is created with information. Talking to people the real things about the change, the risk about not changing, the benefits that will have the people in the future state. And after that, and after the transition comes and the future state is achieved, it will be very important that the change management team could reinforce always the change, always telling stories, always showing the people how we make this transition, and the people will be part of the change. If people is not involved and the change is an obligation, for sure we are going to fall back to the current state. So, in my opinion, the best way to achieve the future state in a solid way is to create awareness and desire to change very, very solid. Thank you for the question.
Thank you, Baruch. And we have a question for Tisham. After a project is finished, one can always look back and see things from a different perspective. What would you have done differently? If this happens, which level of management should be worked on?
Thank you so much. Yes, thank you so much, Raul, for the question. So the first thing that popped up on my mind is that if I was able to change things, is that we really wish to have acquired the change management techniques and tools before to integrate the change management approach while conducting our projects. Because after the mission, we really realized that change management is important to have successful projects. So I wish that at that time in 2015, when the Moroccan tax administration started to live this era of the great change, I really wish that at that time we had the tools of change management, and that we were. I wish that we were able to apply these tools to the projects to make them more successful, to have less resistance, and maybe we could have gained more time in and conduct the projects earlier. So yeah, this is it. I think it's the main wish.
Thank you. And a question to all panelists. I would like to know if even how change management could be applied during the current crisis in tax administration. Somehow here we link project management with change management, and that is very interesting. But do these two techniques can help mitigating unplanned crises like the one we are all facing? So please go ahead and have some comments, jump in.
Maybe I can start?
Of course.
I may not have a full answer. I'll just start because I think that I was the one who talks about the quarantine and the COVID. So maybe I got this question in the mind of the participants. But the point why I talked about quarantine in the quarantine for the implementation of project management, not change management. I said that quarantine was an opportunity to implement project management big techniques, because we can do it from the comfort of our own home. We don't need to be physically in the office. It's not a daily task that needs to be in the office. And at that time, I remember that I called Baruch and I asked him, Baruch, can we apply some change management technique? Because we are living a big change now. But so I will let him the floor maybe now. I will, but just begin by saying that he told me that we can apply some of the techniques, but maybe not the whole methodology, because it's a quick change. Thank you.
I will try to complement that those words, Tizam. Yes, in tax administration, we face a lot of challenge as in any other organization. People is doing home working, and people is trying to adapt to new technologies. Remember that some of our collaborators has never been on a video conference. So we will need to inform them, to create the conscience and the awareness of why are we changing. And we are changing because this pandemic issue is not letting us to have social contact. So we will have to improve some kind of tools and technologies that will benefit them from their work in home, from this social distancing we are having in the whole world. So in this COVID pandemic, we will need to set more flexibility to our employees, as we can share more time, more quality time in the task force. So train them in the use of new technologies, give them the abilities, give them the confidence, give them a continuous communication and information will help in this crisis to be successful in our work. Thank you.
Thank you. I may add something from my perspective. We know that this situation is forcing change. And we also know that people could have a reluctance in accepting change. But this particular moment might be a window of opportunity to move forward, because people will be more open to new ways of work because of the situation and we are all facing. So it is a problem, of course, but there is also an opportunity for tax administrations to improve taxpayer services and certainly to offer the officers and officials of the tax administration an opportunity to work from home, or at least not necessarily within the buildings of the tax administration. And that gives us a lot of opportunities dealing with electronic documents, signing documents with certificates as opposed to signing by hand, facilitating payment facilities that need not be applied by face in front of an officer, but online, maybe over one of these platforms or something like that, that could facilitate an interview in special cases to ask for a payment facility, for instance. So this will be very interesting times to view back in a couple of years and see if we took advantage of this opportunity to improve taxpayer services to our taxpayers, and of course to make the environment safer for our collaborators in the tax administrations. We have still a couple of questions, but I did not have the time to put them in the PowerPoint, so maybe I will read them. And thank you all for the excellent presentations. As Denise, I am curious about the importance and methods for institutional leaders to communicate shared vision as a method of getting employees out of their comfort zones in order to instigate a true desire for change. Are there good examples of how to communicate high-level organization values down the technical levels in order to initiate a desire to change? So please, if any one of you can jump in with comments on that question.
I would like to say something, Raul.
Yes, of course.
I shared that concern of Denise because exactly it's true. We need to develop the skills in the leaders, because the leaders will conduct us through the projects, through the different initiatives, to the different process. And I mentioned during my intervention that the framework of the project or the framework of the institutional condition should be communicated quickly and very clearly. So it means that we need to develop these kind of capabilities in our leaders to especially tell us the truth, especially tell the people the truth, telling the real condition that we are facing on this moment, and the different strategies to resolve the problems, or how can we construct the different solutions. And to be honest, there are a lot of different methodologies or process or methods or training courses to develop this kind of competencies in the leaders. But especially we need to develop the the goodwill. The leader must work based on the goodwill to promote the growing, the institutional growing in through all direction of the institution. The leaders sometimes, or I'm very sure that most of them never keep in mind that we will facing on a crisis like this, especially a crisis like this. Nobody can say that we ready to face on this kind of crisis. That's why we need to be open, flexible, and especially we need to communicate directly and clearly. It's my opinion.
I will add, thank you, Alejandro. I will add something to your words, very interesting words, that desire must be constructed into the sponsors by being active. An active sponsor is very important for any kind of project and any kind of change, because the sponsor will be the leader and will be the example for the rest of the people. And we as supporters of change, agents of change, will need to help this sponsor by doing some kind of actions, like also teaching the sponsors to use new kinds of technologies. For example, don't let him only doing them presential communication work. Also to use WhatsApp, use Zoom, use any kind of technologies that help and will allow to be connected with the people. It's very important that the people and the collaborators in tax administrations feels a confidence with the sponsors, feels that they can reach them any kind of way, not only but knocking his door, chatting with them, having video conferences with them, emailing, and having this kind of communications. It's very important that people knows that the sponsor has this activeness, so the desire to be active for the sponsor will be increased in the short term.
Thank you. I will show the results of the poll so everyone can see. In the meantime, I will also want to extend an invitation for the next webinar of this series. We will talk about tax administration processes, returns processing, the registry, electronic tax domicile, risk management, risk assessment. So it will be at the same time the next Wednesday. So all are welcome, and thank you for your excellent expositions to all panelists. Thank you very much to all. I also want to thank the attendees because they were till this moment, although we go a little over the estimated time. So thank you all, and bye from Panama to all of you. Thank you.
See you soon.
Thank you very much. Goodbye.
Have a nice day. Thank you very much.
Goodbye.
Bye-bye.
Thank
Bye.
you, everybody.
Thank you very much. Bye.